do you avoid the traps of reunification therapy so you can actually reunite with your kids and not fall into the traps that your kid is setting for you, that the therapist is setting for you, and that your ex is setting for you, that the judge is setting for you, and the lawyer? So many parents ask me, Ginger, I finally got an order for reunification therapy, but since then things have actually gotten worse, not better. And I have had so many parents come to work with me after they've been in reunification therapy for months with no progress. They might not have even met their kid yet in the therapy. They might not have even had one session with a child. Sometimes what will happen is a therapist who's been ordered by the court to reunite will just say, I don't know how to do this. It's so sad, it's so tragic, I give up. Other times, the therapist will actively work so you don't see your kid. We're talking about how not to fall into the traps of reunification therapy. Reunification therapy is a court-ordered program for parents who are suffering parental alienation or who the courts might be unsure, but they might often say, let's try therapy. And right now, this is so common. Let's solve everything through therapy. But for an alienated child and a parent, this can be a huge trap. So first of all, as we get started, comment connect if you are interested in reuniting with your child. Comment connect, okay? So before we get started, why should you listen to me? Who am I? I'm Ginger Gentile. I'm a child of high conflict divorce who was torn between two parents and grew up with a lot of trauma, a lot of stress, alienation, you name it. And I learned how to heal myself and my family. I made 2 movies about this subject as a director, the latest Erasing Family, which you can watch for free on YouTube, and our whole channel, Erasing Family. Please subscribe. We post all of the live videos here and so much more content on our YouTube channel. And now I'm a coach who reunites families full time. And I have some of my parents on the call right now, so thank you. But it's so interesting. Parents get obsessed with getting a court order for therapy. Parents get obsessed with getting a judge to order therapy. And the parents who don't get this, or who don't get an order to reverse custody, or an order, for example, for a reunification camp or program, get very frustrated. They'll often say, Ginger, there's nothing we can do. We don't have an order. But here's the irony. The parents who get the order for reunification therapy often have tons of problems. Now, and to be fair, there are some great reunification therapists out there, and the people who have reunification therapists, they're doing a great job, they're not contacting me. I work with the ones, and there are many who are not having a great time in reunification therapy. So remember, comment connect if you're interested in reuniting. You can also put where you're listening from, and you can also put in any question you have about reunification therapy. So the biggest trap that parents fall into, and this is led by the therapist, is that they think this is a place to air grievances and explain why they're being alienated from the other parent. So the first rule is never say that you are alienated. Never make the other parent look bad. Always go in with a positive attitude. So the first mistake that parents make with reunification therapy is they go in and they give a whole list of the things that the other parent is doing that is messing up the kid. What they are saying is, I'm being alienated. Look at all of the things the other parent is doing. This is very serious. I'm a victim of narcissistic abuse. I'm being alienated, etc. And what the therapist hears is, I'm a whiner and I'm the problem. So the first thing you need to do is to go into reunification therapy with a smile, with an attitude of collaboration, and asking questions. Ask the therapist what you can start working on now to improve your parenting skills and your co-parenting skills, what books they recommend. You might discover that they don't have anything to offer you, that they don't know what they're doing, but you are always going to maintain them in a position of authority. You're never going to share articles with them unless they ask. You are going to stay very positive because the whole point of this is you want to get them on your side as early as possible. Next mistake parents make. They use this as an interrogation session with their child, trying to teach their child how to reason for themselves. Big mistake. I worked with one dad who would come with a list of questions for his daughter, trying to get her to think, to become an independent thinker. But if you're being alienated, you can't become an independent thinker. So this just puts the child on the spot. So that leads me to the third thing, thinking that there is a parental alienation therapy, and I talk a lot about this in my programs. A parental alienation therapy is any third party, judge, lawyer, psychologist, therapist, social worker, or even me, who you think is going to solve this problem and talk sense into the kid and the parent. This fairy doesn't exist. The only person who can solve alienation is you, by showing up differently and learning the skills. And a lot of parents say, well, you don't know my ex, but these skills work with incredibly high conflict exes or step parents if used correctly and used consistently. But now here's the biggest mistake of them all. Therapy, and I have been as a traumatized child to so many therapists, okay? I started therapy when I was 6 years old, and I'm still in multiple therapies to this day. I love therapy. If you ask me, should I go to therapy? I would say if you find a good therapist, yes. Should my kids go to therapy? If kids need to go to therapy, you know who really needs the therapy? It's the parents. But if your kids are being alienated, a therapeutic setting can often be the worst setting imaginable. Why is this? This is because when you are in therapy, you're encouraged to talk about your feelings. You're encouraged to talk about how you feel, how you emote, how the other person makes you feel. But if those feelings have been implanted in your head through parental alienation, all therapy is going to do is reconfirm them. So before I move on to the solutions, remember, if you're just joining us, write connect if you're interested in reuniting with your kids, and write your question regarding parental alienation or reunification therapy so I can answer them. Parental alienation reunification therapy is often a trap because the therapist might think you're not alienated, you deserve everything that you got. Or the therapist might think you are alienated but doesn't have the skills to do anything. You are putting all of your faith into a third party who you can't control. But also, therapy is not the way to deal with alienation because it just reinforces the feelings of the children. So what is the solution? The solution is for you as the parent first to learn the skills you need to communicate with your child in a kind way, in a way that maintains your parental authority, in a way that draws them back to you like a magnet. Also, if you can, to find a therapeutic or educational program that is as close as you can get to coaching. And I'm not saying this because I'm a coach. I'm saying this because what your child needs to learn, and the other co-parent, is how to communicate in a new way. And you probably need to learn that too. So what that means is scripting, so children know how to be polite, how to listen without interrupting, how to focus on solutions and giving proposals instead of complaints. If not, therapy is doomed to fail. So a good reunification therapist or coach has to set limits on all parties. You, the parent who's being alienated, the alienator, and the kids from the get-go. They have to make it clear that this isn't about boundaries where the kid gets to say, respect my boundaries. I have so many parents who are saying the therapist congratulating the kid on setting a boundary that you, the loving parent, can't go to their school functions. And I'm like, tell the therapist you disagree with them because you have the moral responsibility to show up and protect your child. We're going to crazy world right now. Don't get on the crazy express train. But you have to do this in a kind and loving way. If you get upset emotionally, this can really set you back. Every situation is different, and you should never do anything that will cause harm to yourself or someone else. But when we withdraw and stop showing up, and I would even encourage you, if you can, to show up even more. When we withdraw that knock on the door, the kid feels abandoned, and then the alienator can say, look, you're abandoned. And then the courts can say, look, this isn't alienation, this is abandonment. It's very dangerous to stop showing up. Even if it's hard for you to show up, there's a way to show up that brings love. I worked with a dad who only got to see his kids at drop-offs because the mom would never let them out of the car. It was Massachusetts in the winter, and the mom would send the kids without any warm clothes, just in shorts, so they didn't want to get out. She'd get them all riled up, and they'd be crying, and they wouldn't want to get out of the car. And so with the dad, and he wanted to stop going. He's like, I'm torturing my kids here. I'm like, the moment you stop going, one, you abandon them in the eyes of the court, but two, you abandon your children in their own eyes. So I work with him to develop a plan to make it as fun as humanly possible in those horrible situations to keep showing up. Guess what? He won the court case. He now has a great relationship with his 2 teenage sons. 3, he actually now has a good relationship with his ex-wife, who spent years alienating him. They have a healthy co-parenting relationship. Maybe tonight isn't the time you want to start reuniting. Maybe it's next week. Maybe it's in a few weeks from now. Whenever you're ready, we're here to help. But you need to be ready, and you need to be ready to do a little bit of work. You need to be able to do an hour or 2 a week into this. And when parents say they don't have that, I'm like, are you really serious about this? And put some money into this, because that's the energetic exchange. Thank you everyone for watching. Bye.